guess I'd call it a national park, to visit some of the Inca ruins. And some people set up to sell you wares alongside these paths. This lady was there alongside the path with her animals, but that's traditional dress, but it's probably a little bit more colorful and a little bit cleaner than you would normally see. And she's there to let you take pictures and, of course, then accept tips for being her photographic model. So, next person, I believe, is Bob, and I'll pass the mic on to him.
I was fortunate enough to be in Anchorage for the 50th running of the Iditarod. And the way it's set up is that they have the ceremonial start in Anchorage, where about 10,000 people come out and enjoy the festivities. This particular picture is I call it the Iditarod family. And they were across, we were restricted by snow fence, as you can see, and they were directly across from me where the teams of sled dogs go between us. That family arrived shortly after I did at around 9:30 in the morning, and they were there for 3.5 hours. It's just amazing. During the day of 4 hours of this running, we received 12 inches of snow. And that little boy, you can see the little girl there with mommy, you can see the little boy with the snowflakes on his lips, and then you can see the young lady and her husband, and the husband just unbelievably eyeballing that little boy. What unbelievable picturesque moment for me during the entire event. Next. Now, this was very interesting. It gives you a good perspective of the snow. And again, the snowfall was pretty significant. That is Miss America. That's Emma Broyles, and she is a Alaskan native, and she was there in interview, and you can just see the snow, the passion that the people have, and the dogged determination that a celebrity has and what they have to go through in regards to fulfilling the tasks of duty. Quite an interesting moment. And look at the snow. Again, we received in a 4-hour period of time 10 to 12 inches of snow. And it never stopped snowing after that for another 6 hours. Thank you. The next one. Now, interesting. This is the very next day. What happens is they have the ceremonial start in Anchorage, and only 30 miles away is the time trial start. This is the beginning of the Iditarod. We had blue skies. So on Saturday, we had snowfall, incredible amounts, and on Sunday, we had blue skies. Now, this picture is the picture of the winning team. That's Brett Sass, S-A-S-S, and his team. His team were the most photogenic dogs that I saw. There were 49 teams in the event. 17 were run by females. And it was just an incredible event. Again, you could just see the population that came out. There were thousands of people there again, rooting on the individual people that they were for, but also it was just a fabulous event to see the animals. They run almost 1,100 miles. This particular winner was 8 days, almost 9 days out in the bush. They have to fend for themselves. They have to fend for their dogs. A little side note, dogs have to learn how to poo and pee while they're running, right? Incredible. They're athletes, incredible athletes. And unfortunately, you can't see, but if you look closely, the lead dog, you can see their tongues hanging out, and they're just starting the race. The lead dog is like the master sergeant of the team. One of the primary responsibilities is to keep all of the harnesses taut because those dogs are attached with ropes and harnesses. And if those harnesses at any time get slackened, they can trip over the harnesses and injure the dogs. Just an incredible event. It was a bucket list moment for me, and fulfilled in my wildest expectations. Thank you.
That's really cool, Bob.
Yeah.
We found out that during the announcements and for Bill's photos, we did not have sound. So we're going to go back and redo Bill's photos. We got it fixed for Bob. So let's back up now while we can. And I apologize for that, but that's technology. So, okay, Bill.
Okay, I got back from Peru a couple weeks ago, a place I would encourage people to visit, not to drive in. The cities, the people are nuts. You got a combination of cars, buses, tuk-tuks, motorcycles, lines on the road or suggestions, stop signs. Well, those are optional. And street lights, the stoplights, they kind of obey. Anyway, open air markets are big in Peru and all the cities I visited. And in this case, these two women are selling chickens. And those are cleaned and slaughtered, and there's a huge stack of them there out of a window in one of these open markets. The open markets, they sell fruits, clothing, textiles, trinkets. They cater to both the local people and a lot to the tourists, because tourist industry is pretty big in a place like Cusco, which is kind of the entrance city to Machu Picchu. One of the things we did visit was the Nazca lines. These are world famous. They're lines on the prairie, kind of the coastal plains of Peru. They were put there, they think, between 500 BC and 500 AD. My friend is a little bit of a Ancient Aliens fan, and that's one of the, theories of why these are there. So we took a flight over these. Peru is only like 15 degrees south of the equator. So you're in a hot plane doing radical banks to let people see. And the guy behind Terry was throwing up for most of the flight, made it a rather interesting hour and a half in the airplane. But, if you look at the lines, a lot of people speculate they look like plane or airport markings. And some people theorize that the animal and people figures are like runway markers. Most scientists say that they're just religious symbols that were put on the ground. I call this smiles, dolls, and cocaine candy. Most of the places you visit, there's usually vendors that are wandering around and will approach you. This was at a textile plant we visited. This lady, I waved my camera at her and she kind of smiled, nodded. So I took a picture. You notice though that she's holding a handmade doll that's dressed for the area and coca candy, because the cocaine leaves are chewed by the natives. Many people think it's great for altitude sickness, and just about any market you go to, coca candy was available to purchase if you wished. I call this one tending the flock. You can drive down the road, and in the middle of the freeway, you'll see a couple people with tethered animals, letting their animals graze right alongside the road. And you'll see them out in fields, just one person watching anywhere from 3 to 5 animals. This is a little bit different. This woman is traditional Peruvian dress from up in the mountains, but she's a little bit more colorful and probably a little cleaner. She's sitting beside a trail in one of the parks that people pass on going to the Inca ruins, for some of them. And she's there not only tending her animals, and she was doing a little bit of knitting, but she's there posing for you to take pictures. And then, of course, she's expecting a tip for you when you do that. And that's it. Thank you.
This one is called Sand Sculpture Setup. The sand artists begin with a pile of sand noted on the right. They use forms to begin their basic shape. They have to fill the forms with sand, hose the sand down to compact it, and repeat the process several times. They begin during the day, but usually work throughout the night so they can begin sculpturing the following day. They have only 3 days to complete their sculpture, starting with the pile of sand and ending with their completed sculpture for judging. This one is called Eye to Eye. This sand artist is working for the 3rd day to put the finishing touches on his project. They have many small carving and finishing tools to create the details needed to render the sculpture as lifelike as possible. Notice the lifelike detail in the open eyeball. This one is Detailing Matters. This is another artist working the final details that most of us wouldn't notice. These artists are very particular about their finished sculpture and all the details that make up their art form, so fascinating. This one is called Waiting for the Judges. Notice the detail in the face, shirt, belt, pants, and feet of the boy. The shirt especially makes him look like he is actually breathing. This one is Lighted Sand Sculptures. The sand sculptures are lit up with colored lights for one night of the festival. The lights add a different dimension to the sculptures, but it is difficult sometimes to see the details as you would during the day. The artists are very willing to chat and answer any questions about their life when they started sculpturing, where they live, many countries are represented, why they started, and describing their sculptures and the ideas that inspired them. Many make a living doing this and usually don't duplicate the same sculpture, which amazes me a great deal.
Fran titled this, The Reality of My COVID Loss. From November 5th, 2021 through November 20th, 2021, my father, Joseph R. DeLuca, was diagnosed with COVID-19. When they tried to take him off the ventilation tubes, he became aware and agitated. He would bite down on the tubes, cutting the oxygen off, and he rapidly would shake his head back and forth, trying to get the tubes out of his mouth, while his eyes were bulging as he gasped for air. He suffered, struggled, and had to be restrained for his own protection. I was with him the whole time and had to make that difficult decision to turn the machines off. On November 20th, they removed his oxygen support. He did not survive. My father passed away within 20 minutes. COVID-19 took my father's life. And if I may add, our belated condolences, Fran. Gary calls this raising the big top. Circus arrives in town, which was Craig, Colorado, and Carney's raising the big top, getting ready for the big show. This is called St. Augustine Disabled Man. St. Augustine man asking for donations. He is unable to work because he is suffering from peripheral neuropathy of the feet and legs and supplements his disability payments through donations from kind people. This is titled, Let the Good Time Roll. Let the Good Times Roll. These are snapshots in a collage format taken at the Gulf Shores and Orange Beach Mardi Gras parades. The parade routes were in total 4 miles long with thousands of people watching the parade. The crews on the floats threw beads, toys, moon pies, and candy, and a good time was had by all. This is Mr. Tim Nola Beggar. Mr. Tim, 49 years old, yes, 49, is a beggar on Bourbon Street in New Orleans, Louisiana. Originally from Blanford, Indiana, he moved to New Orleans to work on fishing boats where he became destitute and a beggar. This is titled Indian Super Sunday Parade. Taken at the Indian Super Sunday Parade in New Orleans, during the slavery era, runaway slaves would escape to the bayou. The Indian tribes would take them in and care for the slaves. It is believed that Indian gangs, now called Indian tribes, were first formed in 1849 on Congo Square. The costumes are brand new every year and shown only 3 times in separate parades on Mardi Gras Day, St. Joseph's Day, and Indian Super Sunday.
Marge calls this one the county fair. County fairs are an annual tradition, local events that provide specialized exhibits, carnival rides, and a multitude of fragrant, fattening, and fried food. County fairs are nostalgic events attended by many generations of families. They are a once-a-year experience that everyone looks forward to. This one is called Dodgem. The fair provides rides for people of all ages. The Dodgem puts children in the driver's seat. This is the funnel cake ladies. Funnel cakes are a staple of county fair food. These 2 ladies look like they were really enjoying their job. Mixed reaction. The wilder rides bring mixed reactions. Fair food. Fair food is the best part of the county fair. Anything can be deep fried, including Twinkies and candy bars.
Mariah titles this one Artist at Work. As artists prepare their etchings and woodcuts for competition, they run many proofs to test the lines and tones. Here is one with a few artist proofs tacked to the board above the area where she is working. Called Plastic Bag. Our world is drowning in plastic. Here's one example of a one-time use shopping bag a long way from being recycled. Please use your reusable bags. Mariah calls this our discarded plastic. Driving through New York with my family, we had to stop and wait for this woman to pass the car. No further comments needed. Christmas on the Rapid. Returning from a trip to New York, I took the Rapid Transit home. RTA had gone all out on decorations. There were only 2 of us there to enjoy them. The other passenger was focused on his phone. This is called Art Appreciation at MoMA. Visiting the galleries today, my eye caught this little group in front of a MoMA masterpiece. Even the 7-year-old found something to do.
Wedding procession. Wedding procession disrupted by wedding perception disrupted by alms for the poor on Parisian walkway. Wedding procession in Provence. Veiled bride and entourage on sidewalk in Provence. Admiration. How much is that dress in the window?
Ron calls this one Street 3. Tourists in Chicago looking at the reflection in The Bean. This is an outdoor sculpture called Cloud Gate. is made of metal with a mirror finish. Seems like an infinite number of reflection possibilities. This is titled Students at the Bar. Young ballet students working at the bar. This class is at the Canton Ballet. Amish traffic. Amish in Florida near Sarasota during the winter. No horses and buggies. They get around using bicycles, tricycles, and scooters. Nowadays, most of these vehicles are electric. Tami calls this lovebirds. My friend's parents' 75th wedding anniversary. I felt honored to be a part of their special day. They have both been blessed with their health and were able to be on the dance floor together for a special dance together. And that is the last photo for the evening.
Yes, and so we'd like to thank everyone who entered. I will say, COVID sort of forced us into having you submit comments because we basically weren't meeting. And this, in particular, the photojournalism competition, really works much better when you're here in person and you can comment on your photo, sort of ad lib your comments. So I'm hoping that by next competition year, by our first photojournalism next year, we will be having people bringing their pictures in or submitting them and then showing up at the club to talk about them, because that's, half the value of these photojournalism entries is understanding the story behind the photos. And it's difficult, if you're asked to write a sentence or two, to really capture the essence of the photos. So we certainly encourage you, if you're going to submit photos to photojournalism, that you show up for the class, and hopefully by next year or by the next club year, that won't be a problem. But certainly we want to thank everyone who did enter. We want to remind you that if you are going to submit any of these photos, in particular, you need to get them in right away. All the entries for the year-end competition are due by Sunday at 9:00. So you need to get onto Shutterscore and select the photos that you want to submit for the year-end competition. So that concludes tonight's event. If you want more information about competing or you'd like to join the Cleveland Photographic Society, please visit our website, www.clevelandphoto.com .org. I have people going to the wrong thing.